Alright, so I want to start out by saying that there's nothing valuable in this video. I'm just talking about what I want to do. I'm not going to show anything, I'm not going to teach anything, but this is where I'm at. I know that, like, for people that have been following my channel or been looking forward to what I'm doing with the 305, because I have another video about the 305, right? The roller block video, right? Since then, I've dissected another 305 that's not a roller block, and I went back and forth about how, like, that one's a better candidate for a rebuild because this one had pistons in it that I figured out the rod caps had been mismatched. And you might think that's simple. Maybe it is, but I'm having a big problem with that. So what I've decided to do, and this is why this has taken me months to actually get to this, because the idea was to build a 305. This was supposed to be almost a complete engine ready to go, just hone it out and put it together. It should be good. But it turns out the rod caps were mismatched, and then it turned into a thing where, like, oh, I'm going to dump all this money into it. And that's why, like, oh, well, let me look at the other 305. Then I went back and forth about ideas, this and that. It gets complicated because I went back and forth about, oh, maybe I should build that one, maybe I should build this one. I've been, like, mentally locked up for like a month or two about what to do about this. And I finally figured it out. And this is what I'm going to do. All those rods that I thought were mismatched, they're cheap. I don't want them anyway. I'm going to go ahead and build this 305, and I'm going to choose one of the cheapest cap screw aftermarket rods, whether it's Summit, Pro Comp, or Scat. Just regular rods that have cap screws instead of through bolts, right? I'm going to try to use the factory crank. Okay? And since I'm changing, and I'm going to go ahead and get this bore 30. I'm pretty sure this is standard engine. I'm going to get this bore 30, buy some new pistons, buy those rods, and then get the crank turned, blah, 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 and I'm also going to get it balanced. At this point, from what I just said, most people might be like, why are you throwing all that money into a 305? It's useless. I'll tell you why. Because I actually plan on making power and not excuses. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at with this engine. I mean, I know I've been doing this a lot on my channel. I've been, like, starting a project and it just ending. I will say that when I'm going to take the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this block to the machine shop and I'm going to have them check it. I'm going to have them check it for, you know, like they're going to pressure test it, see if it's cracked. I'm going to tell them to check it for line bore and whatever else they can check it for. Right? So that's going to be the first step. As long as this block is good, I'm going to build it. If it turns out to be cracked or something, then I guess never mind, you know. And I hate to do that on my channel. I've been doing that a lot where I start a project and it's like, oh, never mind. But as of now, the next step is to get this one, take this to the machine shop and get them to vat it, like they like boiled it in something or something. They clean it all real good. And I'm going to paint the engine and make sure that I'm going to tell them to check the line bore and then go from there. I got to make sure this block, I'm going to get this block checked out first. And I'll also take them the crankshaft as well to see if it can be turned and see if it's not a trash crank. If it is, then that's just going to set me back, and it's probably what's going to happen. But anyway, okay, to bring everybody up to speed that hasn't been following this build, this engine had the piston that came out of it. I figured out that the rod caps had been mismatched because you can feel a lip on here. The sides don't match up, and on the bearings it had a wear mark right around this area. I really don't want to bring them up, but even almost on this you could kind of see it. All the bearings had a wear mark, and the pistons still had all the sideways marks on it, and I kind of decipher that means that they built it and didn't last very long because the crank's chewed up. They pulled it out of the vehicle, obviously, and then, like, I'm pretty sure these are mismatched. Okay, so that's what I'm doing is I decided instead of trying to rematch them, I don't want stock rods anyway, and I don't want the stock pistons anyway. I'm going to go ahead and get, these are old pistons. I'll probably replace them with cast as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace them with cast flat top pistons, which will bring the compression up to probably 9 to 1 or 9.5 to 1 versus 8 to 1. And you know, you get some power there. Anyway, so if anybody's wondering what these plates are, kind of off subject, this motor is on a stand. And it's supported by these things, right? Well, a buddy of mine wanted me to figure out how to support it by the heads. That way he could bolt the transmission on it. And of course the transmission is going to have a support at the transmission mount as well. But that way you can hold the engine up without this in the way. And you can put a transmission on it. That's just a side project that I'm doing. Ignore that. But look how nice that is. That looks like that was store-bought, the way I cut it out. I cut it out a 1/4 inch steel. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing. All this is subject to change because I do have another set of match rods that do have the correct ones on there. I might get those resized with ARP bolts. The price is going to determine what I do. And that's one thing that really does come up. It's like if you talk about taking a set of rods, putting ARP bolts and resizing them, it just depends. And almost I got to check with the machine shop with how they price it. But if that bill comes up to $265, then you might as well just buy. You could pick Summit rods, Scat rods, or Pro Comp rods that are already cap screws and are supposedly better than a stock rod anyway. I mean, I know those are cheap, but dude, I'm pretty sure they're better than that. Anyway, so let's move on to something else. So here's the big picture. This is what I'm doing. I know in my previous videos I went back and forth about off-road buggy or sand drag or whatever. I want to turn this truck into an 1/8 mile truck. It already has a 305 in it, and I bought these fancy headers that are too close to the brake booster. They're too close. They're too close to the brake booster. So what I'm gonna have to do is convert this to manual brakes, and I want to do that anyway. And I've had a really big, hard time trying to figure out how to mount that turbo in a proper way. I have that flange, and I figured out it's going to be mounted somewhere like where you see it. I will probably use the 2 bolts right here from the water pump to make a brace, put some bellows on it to be flexible, whatever, and somehow mount it in the front. It's too close to the radiator, so the radiator either needs to be moved forward or relocated to the rear. I haven't decided that either. I know this video is kind of useless because I didn't actually show me doing anything, but I mean, I posted some videos a few months ago, and I just wanted to keep some of my viewers interested in what I'm doing. And anyway, so I did used to be a big block guy. I used to think you have to have a big engine, big displacement to make power. And I did build a few 454s that made some decent power. I used to race one in that 72 pickup. I used to drag race it with a 454. It did pretty good. Nothing really that spectacular. But I've been doing like research, and like the internet is you know, it just like shares knowledge so much these days. And I'm seeing these builds that are like, you know, a 400 small block making 1800 horsepower and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, well, I kind of feel like whenever you add boost to something, the displacement kind of is irrelevant. Like if you're going to boost something 20 pounds, it doesn't matter if it's only 5 liters. It's going to make a bunch of power anyway. So that's where I'm at right now. And the whole 305 thing, I know it's a dud. I hate those engines. I mean, they're reliable to, you know, just to drive as a daily driver, they're fine. But I know it's a dud. But I kind of want to prove a point. And the point is that as soon as you add boost, displacement doesn't matter. That's the whole point that I'm trying to make. And I might be proven wrong, or I might be proven halfway true. I don't know, but 305s are so plentiful. I got this one for free. I got another one for free, and I got 3 more coming my way that are for free. I'm not really sure how many of them are roller blocks or how many of them are the old school. It's probably a mismatch. But if I tried hard enough, I could probably get 100 of these. And usually somebody made a comment on one YouTube video about how like he built his because every time you get a 350, it's already bore 30, and that's true. And then they're all clapped out. They've been using them too much. But there's a overabundance of 305 engines that are in very good condition, standard bores, barely worn out, and I mean they're duds. But I'm going to try to make some power with them. If I can't do that, maybe I will waste a couple of $1,000s on this short block. Fine. Well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to move on to a 350 and blah, 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 blah. I might even get back into big blocks. I don't know. But I just wanted to update everybody on what I'm doing. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe. The end.